even a thought spared on you.
I mean, I guess not.
It is fact, child. There is no room in their hearts or minds for you.
What are you talking about?
Mommy and Daddy, they don't really love you.
That's not true.
They could never love you. Their hearts are cold.
No, that's not true. That's bullshit.
I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
You're listening to the Media Man Dan podcast, your place for music, movies, news, reviews, and interviews. Welcome to the show. Get ready to rock. Let's rock!
Angry little fucking kids, whining cause you're full of shit. Crying, bitching, playing victim. You're not the cure, you're the fucking symptom. A plague of hate that spreads the pain, condemns the strange, embrace the insane. It's time for a riot. It's time for the revolution, bitch. Time for the riot. It's time for the revolution, bitch. Time for the riot. It's time for the revolution, bitch. Time for the riot. It's time for the revolution, bitch.
Please just treat people with love and treat people with compassion and treat people with respect. And I will do the same for you.
You must be kidding, aren't you?
We talked about him before we started recording. Jake Hanna is the reason that me and you are able to chat right now. Jake Hanna has his own music, and he's constantly working with the independent punk lifestyle. If you guys love that, go check out my interview with him, and be sure to give him some love, because he brought David to this area right now, to this epic interview with me, and I have been so happy the entire time. It's been like literally exactly what I want from every interview. It feels like I'm just sitting on a couch chatting about everything that's on our mind. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Media Man Dan podcast. Today, I have the man, the myth, the legend, the voice of horror, David Neer. Welcome, my friend. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic, and that that was, as usual, an epic intro, man.
I always try to level it up, and I have been listening to your voice for at least 11 hours today, so I was like, it's time to do
I'm sorry,
something
first
dark.
of all. But yeah, that was awesome.
How's your year going? How is everything with this new Morgue file that's about to come out? Are you excited? Are you pumped?
Dude, I'm so excited. So I mean, I'm not gonna like bog you down with depressing crap, but last year was miserable for me.
Oh,
Just everything that could go wrong did go wrong. I was like, I was like at my lowest point. This year has been so far the complete opposite of that. Like
full bounce back.
Yeah, like everything has been falling in place. Everything feels good. It feels right. And this particular Morgue Files that's about to come out, it was a process, because like it actually started at the end of 2021. I started kind of developing the ideas and stuff. One thing after another, it was like it kept getting pushed back and pushed back. And I believe that the universe speaks to you, but you have to listen. And so the story is a girl named Sally, and I was listening to a playlist from the 90s, and they played Don't Look Back in Anger from Oasis. And the chorus, he says, so Sally can wait. And I was like, you know what? With everything that's going on right now, that's like the best advice. I'll just put it on hold. I'll focus on trying to get my life back together. And yeah, here we are. I'm excited. It comes out in less than 24 hours now. The nerves are there. The excitement is there. It's crazy.
Oh, it's going to be epic. I'll tell you that, man. I was listening to everything, the Pinehurst sessions, dude. That was so awesome, because it gave you extra context between the main episodes. And the main episodes, I was listening to this while I was doing my work today. Like people all around me, and all I was thinking was, please, for the love of God, do not have your volume up too loud.
That's
You know?
awesome, man.
It was
Um,
amazing, though. I was entranced with everything that you created and your whole team created, the music, the sound effects, the way that the voices work with each other, the reverberation, especially for the inner thoughts and like the echoes that are in the room. I loved that so much.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's my whole goal with this is like because I'm a bit cynical sometimes, and I'm like, I hate modern movies, but I love horror, and I'm like, how can I make a horror movie without like I don't have like cameras, I don't have like a huge crew, whatever. And this audio format came out, and it was like, but I still want it to be as close to a movie as possible.
Yes.
Um, and unfortunately, my former I guess teammates, they've moved on to other things, but I cannot thank them enough for the work that they put in between the artwork and the audio editing and the score. Like, they really helped shape this into, because I've had all these ideas in my head, because I'm a crazy person. I've had all these ideas in my head for a long time, and it's like finally getting them out there in a tangible way, that where it's like it's an actual product that I can listen to and be like, I don't have to think about this anymore. It's finally out there. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you are, giving them credit and everything. Their contribution, especially to the first two episodes, I didn't even know if I was listening to them in the correct order, because I looked at the date order and I was like, I'm going to start with episode 1 and then go into episode 2. But what it looked like upload wise was that episode 2 came out before episode 1. Either way, they do go along with each other very, very smoothly. The stories, at least.
Thank you. Yeah, so the reason for the out of order upload date is that initially case number 1 was specifically like I guess a remake of the Tiki Toby creepypasta story. But there were some issues that arose with Tiki Toby's creator. It became this whole thing, and I could have technically just left it, but I was like, you know what, it's like 95% an original thing that has nothing to do with that anyways, so just remove the name, revamp it into its own thing. So that's why it was uploaded technically after case 2.
Okay. I was thinking, you know how Eminem has 2 songs that are about murdering his girlfriend?
Yes.
And you go from 97 Bonnie and Clyde, which is the after effects of Kim, but
Yeah.
Kim came out after that.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, well, this is like a prequel kind of feel. So it's like the story before the story. And so I was happy because like right after we got Jeff the Killer jumping into the therapist's office and going mad, I was like, okay, I want to know who this guy is, because he wasn't introduced in the story before this. So I was like, okay, I'm glad that it linearly works really well. It does follow a storyline, and it's so damn good, dude. I was on the edge of my seat, terrified. There was one moment my grandfather called me, and I was like, I have to let this call go because I got to know what happens next. I'm terrified. I'm on the edge of my seat, and I won't spoil any of it for anyone that has not already listened. But this story is so incredibly brutal and grisly and real, and the sound effects. Oh my gosh, you get like just the walking alone. Some people are like putting 2 pieces of sand together, or not sand, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's their, or I guess coconuts if you were going with Monty Python. But like, this was so real. And I was like, man, how did he do all of this? And there were moments where I wouldn't even realize it was you, because I was like, I am in this story. I can't believe what's going on. The tragedy, the terror. It's so well done, man. And I just want to know, how did this first come to mind? Were you listening to someone that had a different version of creepypasta story? I've never done any creepypasta or anything like that, so I'm very out of the loop with that.
That's fine. And just a quick thing. So there's some things that are based on creepypasta in the series, but it's not really a creepypasta. Like it's always a fully original story written from the ground up. So
Awesome.
yeah, you don't have to know anything about any other stories. And damn, like you're so kind, man. all the praise, I really appreciate it.
It's well deserved, man. I was telling my fiance, I was like, I'm terrified, but this is amazing.
And that's all I hope for, to be honest. Like, and I never, my goal is never, to make like the most shocking thing possible. Exactly. It's just, I don't want to pull punches either.
Yeah,
Like
you do
I'm
not.
gonna. I want it to be horrific. You know, it's horror.
Oh yeah.
And I've never really been big into the like horror comedy stuff where it's more lighthearted.
Besides Scream.
Yes. Well, see, I can't even honestly say that because I love Scream, I love Shaun of the Dead, I love Return of the Living Dead.
Jason Lives.
Yes, honestly, all the Jason movies, I watch them every Halloween.
So fun.
Yeah. But to answer your question, because God, I just went off on a tangent. Yeah, to answer your question, so I, a buddy of mine, Patrick Ferguson, him and I started doing like original voices for some of these creepypasta characters back in like 2012, 2013. And then he had started doing his own audio dramas. And that kind of became its own thing. And then a couple of the people who worked on the Morgue Files with me, they were a part of that as well. So that's how we all met. But it was like I always had my own, when I did like the voices and stuff, I had my own ideas of like what could these characters be, or like how could I make them better, essentially. Because a lot of the stories are really bad. And I'm not trying to like shit on somebody's creativity. It's just a lot of the stories were written by kids, you know. They're not like professional writers.
Edgy teens.
yes, very much. Everybody has a hoodie and bleeding eyes. So yeah, I had these ideas going around in my head for a while, and eventually, yeah, I wanted to do like a movie. That was my, and then I was like, well, maybe I can do kind of a motion comic. I could take pictures and then work with it to make it like a motion comic at least. But then I was like, well, that's just not happening with the technology I had at the time. Like I had a really bad old school digital camera. It was bad. And I tried to do like makeup and stuff, like prosthetics, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, this, scrap it, throw it in the garbage.
Little do you know that you could have created something as good as The Thing, you know?
I doubt it. You know, even
just
now,
mutations on your face.
But it wouldn't be. It's not even mutation. It looked like tissue paper. I was like, I can't do this.
Make it black and white.
There you go. You know what? To be honest, you make it really grainy, black and white. You can probably get away with it.
Yep, put it out of focus on purpose. It works well.
There's a film called Begotten, which is a weird experimental. I don't even know how to describe it. It's from the early '90s, I think, but it's just random weird shots of weird shit. But it's like it's so grainy and like black and white, stark black and white, and like you don't know what's happening most of the time. But it works. It's a creepy atmosphere.
You know, VHS kind of has that kind of feel as well, but it's more of like a first person.
I enjoyed those movies, man. I know some people like, I'm not a big found footage person, but the VHS movies I thought were like, that's about as good as you can do found footage, I think.
Yeah, I think I watched somebody either review it or they were reacting to it, and I was like, this is fascinating. I would never sit through this.
So yeah, I was like, I had these ideas, and the first story, which initially was Tiki Toby, became its own thing, The Blood Red Sky. That particular story was very much based on my life in my youth. A lot of the events in that story actually happened to me, and so I guess I was trying to I guess in a way it was like therapy. It was like
Yeah,
trying
therapeutic.
yeah, it was trying to like deal with this stuff and I guess do it in a way that wasn't, directly happening to me anymore. And so um I could look at it like an outsider.
Yeah,
And yeah, and then my former crew there, like we got together, we started talking about everything, and one thing just led to another, and here we are.
dude, I'm telling you though, like the final product was so well made.
Thank
I
you.
was so shocked by the end to learn everything that had taken place beforehand, the big reveal, and of course the inner demons that all these characters are facing. Once again, I'm not spoiling anything, but your voices, man, those like it's like so cool, man. I love it. I was like, yes, growl at me more.
And thank you for not spoiling stuff, by the way.
Yeah, no, I won't do that.
I mean, I try to be very secretive about everything until people have actually seen it. Then I'm like, yeah, so this and this and this, and I'll go into everything.
There's one moment I will have to spoil this because it immensely stood out to me. There is one specific moment of dialogue. I think it was in part 2. It might have been in part 1, where he was like, "No, that's bullshit." And all I was thinking is, "I did not hit her. I did not." He said, "That's not true. That's bullshit." And I was like, "Yes, yes, say it."
that was in case 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure you caught some of the Tommy Wiseau influence, I guess.
Also, the TV changing. You had between stations before dark stuff happened. You had one of them who was like,
Yes.
and I was like, I got you there, David, throwing in the room.
that was actually not me.
Really?
That was Chaz Revenel. He just threw that in there during editing.
What are the odds?
Yeah, and I was like, thank you. Yeah, so there's Tommy Wiseau, there's Neil Breen, there's Samurai Cop, there's all these bad movie references, and I'm not sure why. I just love good bad movies, so I don't know. It's like pay some kind of homage to terrible movies, I guess.
You're the hilariosity connoisseur.
Yes, dude, I loved Chris Stuckman's Hilariosity reviews.
Same, man. Especially let's see, Batman and Robin. Those were my first ones.
Yes. I think my first one was either that or Jaws the Revenge.
I have to see that movie, but I will totally watch the Hilariosity after I see the movie.
You need to. So I grew up with Jaws the Revenge, and it was like I enjoyed it as a kid, but as an adult, I can definitely see some of the major issues. And I think it commits one of the biggest sins of a movie, which is there's some major boring parts here and there.
Oh.
It's like you're following up Jaws, like one of the best movies ever made, and you can't give us something a little more exciting.
Yeah, losing the attention of your audience, that is never a good thing. If it is boring, then I will have to still suffer through just so I can say that I watched it. But this is going to be really bad. As a cinephile, as somebody who loves cinema, I have never seen Jaws in my life.
You what?
This interview is over. I will not
be like, that's it, Dan, end it. Thank you for tuning in to the Media Man Dan podcast.
No, I mean, I can't say that there's classic movies I've never seen. I don't think I've seen The Godfather Part 2.
I haven't seen any of mobster movies or anything like that.
Oh my god. I've seen the first Godfather. It was a great movie. But I don't think I've seen the second one. So if we're talking gangster movies, I love The Godfather, I love Casino, Goodfellas, Scarface.
I've seen zero.
You got to get on that.
I do, and I own them. Well, actually, my fiance's brother owns them, so I'll have to ask him to borrow these incredible masterpieces, and take 16 hours out of my day.
It's worth it.
Absolutely, it is.
I mean, the movie Casino has Joe Pesci, who I mean, I'm pretty sure you know Joe Pesci, right?
Yes, Home Alone.
Yes, yes.
My cousin Vinny as well.
Yes. It has Joe Pesci, and he's just amazing. Like every other word out of his mouth is fuck, and he just the whole time he's just so angry.
And same for Goodfellas, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Both
that's what I
films.
hear. Both films are brutal. And for the longest time, I was afraid of brutal violence. One of those movies that helped me get out of it was Kingsman Secret Service. I finally understood rated
See,
R
there's
violence.
one I've never seen.
You've never seen the Secret Service?
Nope, I've never seen the Kingsman movies.
Oh my gosh. Okay. First one only. Don't watch the rest.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not as up to par as that one. That one was so solid, especially if you like really thick British accents.
Speaking of that, kind of in the gangster category, is the show called Peaky Blinders.
I've heard of it. I've been told you take a hat and chop someone's head off.
Not quite, not quite.
Okay.
They get they're a British gang from like the late 1800s.
Okay.
And they get their name from the peak of their cap. They have a razor blade sewn into it. And so they'll blind people with the razor blades.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
But I mean, they don't do that too much in the show. It's not
Okay.
like the most gory show. Yeah, that show is amazing. Like it's got so much like drama and intense moments and great acting. I love it.
awesome. Yeah, my coworkers were praising that one for a while, and they're like, "You gotta watch it." And I was like, I don't know. I like feel good shows sometimes, especially we're watching Friends right now. Catching up on the '90s, and
I'm a
it's
big
fun.
fan of Friends. I love Friends. I love Frasier, that '70s show. Yeah, I don't just do horror.
I would hope not. It would be crazy if the voices that are in all of these are just like your actual reality on a daily basis. Be like you never get any escape. You can't laugh about anything. It's just terrifying all the time.
Yeah, and it's weird because there's some I guess fan. I don't like using the word fans. It's weird, but I get there's some fans that like they take this shit so seriously that they believe that I am like the characters or that I support what the characters do, and I'm just like, no, like these are bad people doing bad things. It's a work of fiction. It's just entertainment, you know.
Yeah, that right there, I would put in the "Still Don't Give a Fuck" by Eminem.
A lot of people think that I worship the devil, that I do all types of retarded shit.
Now you're gonna be canceled. You said the R word.
Oh, I said the R word. Whoopsie. It's a quote. Quote.
You can't quote things now
No, you can't.
because you'll be canceled.
Canceled. Go after me. I dare you. Suck a dick. Anyway, so let's go on with the rest of the Morgue Files. I have some similarities. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I do feel some It references in this storyline, meaning the characters are intentionally doing evil things by these haunting, dark characters around them. And the television specifically, and I think part 2 was the kicker for me because I was thinking of the kid that kills his father in It. His dad's watching the TV and the clown is telling everybody, "You all float down here," and then he kills his dad. That's where my mind went, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if he intentionally did that, but that works." Because it's haunting.
That was not intentional.
Perfect.
But I can definitely see the parallels there.
Yeah. Also the cave.
Yeah.
Cave versus mine. It's kind of close.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the sounds inside the mine are cave sounds.
Okay.
It sounded so much better to me. Like I tried to I'm pretty sure in real life, if you were inside like an old abandoned mine, it would just be like silent. Maybe you would hear like some wind howling through the tunnels. And I'm like, that's just boring. Like we need water dripping. We need this echoey, like it needs to feel like you're in this just disgusting old rundown place.
Yes.
So yeah, it is very similar to a cave in a lot of ways.
Perfect. Yeah, you can call it a cavern.
Yes.
Beautiful cavern too. I'm guessing that these locations that you guys were recording in were probably taken like a couple of minutes, hours of footage and just using that and looping it or something of that sort to get the sound to match the scene.
No, so how the sound effects are done is typically there's like different sites where you can purchase different sound effects and you can combine them to make your own sounds. Like yeah, because I don't have the means to go out and record in an actual place.
Why not, David? Why not?
Because I refuse. I refuse.
You don't want to
No,
waste 17 hours for just sounds.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I honestly, I would do that if I had like a really good microphone and like the means to go to specific locations to get stuff like that. I live in the middle of like just urban Michigan. There's nothing here. So yeah, typically it's finding the right sounds online, or if you can't find the right sounds, then you improvise. And like I have recorded there's different sounds in the series, like whether it's keyboard typing or hitting wood or just different things like that, where I'll actually record it myself and then try to mix it in, maybe combine it with some other sound effect that I found to try to make the actual sound effect that I need. There's the cellar door in case number 1.
Yeah.
You would not imagine how impossible it was to try to find a sound effect to work for that. So myself and Chaz, we found like so many sounds that we like put together, and it was like, okay, now we have our cellar door. Like it wasn't just one sound. But yeah, so that's usually the process, and then you go in and you place all the sounds, and you it's tedious trying to make everything line up. Yeah.
It would be, yeah. I would imagine the editing of this. As I was thinking about it, I was thinking of like I only took one course in college that was about sounds and effects. And like you said, you wouldn't go to these locations and like record, but like we were talking about like getting a concert hall or something of like an open ballroom, and you just put the microphone in the middle for like an hour and you pick up that sound and then you can transfer it into your mixer, and then you have that reverberated sound of that room that you can use for your background. And I'm just like, I don't think he did that, but maybe he did. Maybe he's like super into this and takes 20 days to put together one 10-minute clip.
I mean, that's not far off.
All right, perfect.
It does take a long time to put the scenes together. With case 4 here, it was just me doing everything this time. So I mean, it was definitely a struggle to try to find all the right sounds, and then like I said, make some. If you don't have the right sound, you can combine things, whatever, make your own. But yeah, then you go into the sequencer and you have to like place everything just right, and then you have to listen to it, and then it's like, no, this comes in too soon, so you have to like move it around. And then making sure that like there's reverb on everything in a room.
Yeah.
So it all sounds cohesive. And it has to be the right kind of reverb. Yeah, it's all these little things that go into it.
One of my favorite scenes is the Mortal Kombat scene, because you can hear the buttons clicking and everything like that. And I'm like, and he must have been actually in an arcade for this.
See, again, that was Chaz. He is a maestro with that kind of thing.
He's a magic man.
Yes. So for this particular case, I really tried to make every scene feel alive. So like I think more than any of the other ones, I put emphasis on little things, like if somebody's sitting down, you've got to have the sounds of like the chair creaking, or
yes,
to show that they're shifting, or like little clothing movement sounds, or I'm trying to think of other things off the top of my head.
No, you're perfect, man.
But yeah, I forget if there was a question there because
You're all good, man. You're all good. I also like to play it at the dinner table. That was my first one that really shocked me. I was like, whoa, I'm in the room with this family. I'm seriously, I can feel the tension between the characters, and I'm also aware of the setting that we are in just by having that one plate end up on the table. And I was like, oh, excellent. Excellent.
yeah, definitely a goal. Like I said, I want them to feel like movies, but you're just listening to them.
Well, that's the best way to have it, man. I mean, it literally created what we know as horror. Like my grandparents told me, like they would be listening to these radio shows all the time, and you could listen to like your horror hour and your comedy hour. My grandpa listened to something called the Chicken Man. And Dick Orkin was like this big, huge radio voice and stuff like that. But there are other shows out there, and you can find tons of tapes of these people that recorded all of this and made it sound so realistic in that 30-minute period of time. It's like, how did they have the tech to do that back then, you know? Because like they sound like they're having a full conversation in multiple rooms. It's like, wow. So yeah,
it's impressive. That kind of thing was one of the big inspirations I forgot to mention. The old radio dramas from back in the day, and stuff like the Twilight Zone and the War of the Worlds.
Yeah,
that original radio broadcast of it. I was always fascinated by that kind of thing, and I like the idea of the audio story because it allows the audience to kind of envision it in their head, so it's more immersive almost.
Truly.
When you're watching a movie, obviously you can get immersed, but like you're just watching information being presented to you instead of actually creating it in your head while you're listening to it.
Yeah, you can create the character and how everybody looks based on how they sound. And dude, your actors that you have, oh my god, the blood curdling scream. Oh, I was terrified, like I said, but it was so impressive because I was like, man, that sounds so real. Also the gore sounds very, very realistic, and the blood, all of that. So just in case you guys are wondering, yes, it's a horrifying horror thing to listen to. So if you're afraid of horror, probably don't listen to that.
Yeah, don't stay away.
Stay away.
Go watch Barney or something.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I love you.
Now back to our show.
Finding really good actors is difficult.
Oh, of course.
Because I mean there's a lot of people out there who will work for free, but you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
But then there's other people who charge way too much, even though they might be good. It's like, this is like a small YouTube series. It's not some big production. There's literally no budget. It's just money coming out of like our pockets to try to bring in some talented people.
Yeah.
One of the most lucky things was we had an actress in Case 2, and she introduced us to a guy named Corey, who ended up being the main star of Case Number 3, Jack Evans. And he was so damn good, and he agreed to do it for I think it was $75, even though he was like the main star with a million lines.
Yeah.
And he was so good, and he was great, and he's willing to work again in the series, and he's been awesome. So that was one of the most lucky moments with casting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of it outside of the other cast is just, it was like the core team voicing as much as we could. So I mean, like you take Case 1, for example, and like I voiced Tobias, I voiced Dr. Wilson, I voiced the Figure, I voiced the stepfather, I voiced a bunch of characters.
Yeah.
So it's the fourth one is mainly like the main star would be my sister. She's voicing Sally, she's voicing the grandmother, she's voicing some other characters, like, and it's a lot of dialogue and a lot of like emotional acting, and it's crazy.
I'm so pumped, man.
I'm glad, dude.
like I have been falling in love with it all day. I listen to it all at once. The best thing to do before I go into an interview is to binge the shit out of everything, because
Yes.
if I get a full picture on the day of, my brain is more fresh than if I were to be like, oh, I'll do it last week and hopefully remember stuff. So I was like,
I
I'm gonna
get
wait
that.
for the Morgue Files and I'll do it all at once, and I did it with the Pinehurst sessions as well.
I appreciate you doing that too, because I know the stories are like 2 hours long each.
Yeah.
So it's not like something you can just put on quickly and listen to. Um, but I definitely appreciate that. Like there's some people who still like they've been, I guess, interested since the first one came out, but they still haven't watched all of them. And I'm like, I kind of get it. It's hard to find the time, but it's like,
No.
yeah, at the same time, it's like you know, blood, sweat, and tears have gone into this, and yet
Exactly.
you're just like, oh, I'll kind of consume it in like 5 minute bits here and there. Like,
No, 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 no. No. Anybody, you have time. You just have to make sure that you schedule it correctly. You can make time before bed if you want to be terrified and have nightmares. You can do that. You could do it on a bright sunny afternoon with your lunch. That's what I did. I was listening to your music actually on lunch. And I
That's
went
awesome.
back to the Morgue Files and finished episode 3, and I was like, oh man, oh amazing.
um,
But yeah,
I
overall,
know.
the tone of everything is just so well done, and how the actors fit the scenes and really like just put their all into it. I was mesmerized, man. It was so good.
Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I know that if the acting wasn't on par, it doesn't matter how good the story is, nobody's going to connect with it. So yeah, it's important to be able to find the right people for the right parts. And there was there was also a guy who played um the character Aaron in Case 2. There were a bunch of people who auditioned, and I was like, I'm not feeling it for any of them. And then I heard him, and I'm like, this is the voice that I heard in my head while writing it. Just hire him already. uh, and so we did. We hired him, and he was amazing. It's always cool when that happens. But then there is the it's a double edged sword. Like on the other end, it's like uh you might not find the right people. You might have to sit through so much, like, again, not trying to be an asshole, but just mediocrity.
Yeah,
And it's like it becomes like such a chore at that point. And it's like, well, I could just do it myself, you know.
exactly.
um
So
yeah,
you said,
I'm rambling, I'm sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. So you said that your sister and you are primarily the voices for episode 4.
Yes.
The recording process takes days, and setting everything up to work out linearly, and probably a storyline is going to have twists and turns again. How do you come up with the structure when it comes to the big twist, or when it comes to the big reveal of something? Do you have it like this is going to happen at this point, or do you just go with the flow and then you're like, okay, sometime in the story, this is going to connect to this?
It's more like that one. It's like
Okay.
if you have in mind like some of these big moments, you have to write them down, and then it's not necessarily writing the story around that so you can squeeze it in there. It's just more like, when does it make sense for this to happen?
Got to do the M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. um and like with Case 4, it went through a few different versions actually, because like I said, it started in 2021, like the concepts and everything.
Yeah.
It was a very different story back then. It was a lot more fantastical, I would say. There were like a lot more almost like storybook elements to it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very different. And then at one point it evolved into something else, and then it kept changing. And eventually I was just like, you know what, this thing is gonna have to be just restarted from scratch because I'm just not feeling any of this. uh and so my sister and I ended up, we sat down, we worked on this script, and it dude, it when I say that it was a chore to keep it under like 2.5 hours, because there was so much that we were trying to tell, and it was like we cannot do 2.5 hours, that's too much. uh and so there was a lot of trimming here and there, but then it's like, well, damn, now this doesn't make sense, so you have to trim around that. uh but long story short, the thing was essentially finished, the script, in about December of last year. um and then it went through a few like revisions and slight changes here and there. And this one, there were some scenes where we ended up shifting them around completely, but it worked better.
Oh,
So
you,
I can't
so it
say
changed
too
the
much.
order.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't say too much without spoilers, but yeah, there were some scenes where I was like, I feel like storytelling wise, it would flow better if we kind of shifted the order that these things happen. And yeah, it ended up working great. And I guess I can say this because this is going to air after the story comes out, right?
Yes, it will.
So it's my sister and me literally doing everything, every voice, everything in this one. There's a lot of characters. And it was challenging to try to make voices sound unique, because there's only so many voices that one person can do. And I'm sure there's going to be people that are like, oh well, I can tell it's him voicing both these characters, whatever. It's probably going to happen. But yeah, I was like, this almost like it has to be a statement this time around. It's like, it's just my sister and I, and it's a very personal story, it's a very emotional story. And I guess your initial question was about the twists and turns and like how you come up with that kind of stuff. And it's like, usually for me, I have like the rough idea of what the story is, and really I'm sure there's some people who can plan out twists and turns, but for me, it just kind of happens while you're writing. You'll discover things that you didn't think of before because the story dictates it. And so yeah, there were a lot of moments, I guess in case 4 in particular, where I didn't know where it was going to go myself. And then as we were writing it, it was like, okay, it makes sense if this is how it happens. So yeah, it's not easy, but it's part of the fun, you know. It's part of the creative process.
Yeah. And here's the best part, and I'll give you a huge compliment for this, because you said that it was a lot of hard work that you put into the first episode. You said that a lot of people maybe left the project after that, and you had to change up the cast, you had to change a lot of things. It was stressful, but what did you do? You came back and you made another fantastic episode and another fantastic episode, and now you're down to you and your sister, and you're still putting out your best, and the passion is behind it. And that is something that if any of us in your position were to have those kind of trials and tribulations while we're shooting, while we're recording, whatever it is, we would just be like overwhelmed. And the fact that you're still grinding with it, and that you have these plans and these options that you are constantly brainstorming, it's so perfect, because the people are really, you know, gravitating towards the Morgue Files. Like, that is what your channel is basically known for, besides the voice impressions. And who would want anything but the best voice impressions for 2 hours? It's like amazing. So I really do praise your work, man, and your work ethic, of course, as well.
Thank you so much, man. Like I said, last year was really rough. But it's like, for me, this without being too dramatic, this is what I do. Like this, I don't know how to do anything else. I don't know how to be a person most of the time. But I enjoy creating. I enjoy telling these stories, and yeah, this series was something that I had in the back of my mind. I wanted to do a horror series for years. Um, my sister and I actually wrote the script for Case 2 back in 2015. Uh, and I didn't know at the time how to proceed with that, how to turn it into something like and it's just I think it's just seeing those ideas actually come to life and seeing the response from fans and stuff. Like, I don't know, that's it's like a drug to me. You know, it's what I need in order to be happy at this point. It's like I love it. Um, so I appreciate all the kind words, and that you can see that there is passion behind it.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely, man.
yeah,
And
and there,
speaking of passion, let's move on to
segue.
yeah, I'm going to segue right into this. I have to talk about the passion that went into the original movie Halloween was focused on a very disturbed character and his doctor. That is something that I got from the Morgue Files instantly, and I was enhanced to be like, okay, this is giving me those feels again. This is the Dr. Loomis effect. This is where I get to know the story through the character that's done the evil thing, and it's like, yes, this is so fascinating. Did you have any Halloween things in the back of your mind when you were making the first one?
Not intentionally, but um anyone who knows me, they know that John Carpenter is like my idol as far as horror directors. So it was probably there in the back of my mind. Like it, there's something about John Carpenter's especially like up until like the early 90s, like he just has this very slow but like atmospheric pace to his movies, and that's something that I definitely do try to emulate, because I one thing I can't stand is like constant jump scares being thrown at you, or just like shit happening constant. It's like, just take a moment, breathe, let a scene happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always even in the soundtrack you'll hear little similarities, I guess, to some John Carpenter stuff. um so yeah, again, it wasn't intentional, but there is John Carpenter in the back of my mind, so most likely it helped there.
Subconsciously, unintentionally, you have some John Carpenter, you have some Stephen King elements, of course, because you've seen all of the greats of horror, and it's not going to be like, oh, this has never been done before. That would be incredible, though, and I'm hoping that in the future you're going to have something that's so unique, and that somebody that's like really young at that time is going to look at that, and maybe they'll become the next big horror director based on whatever you create. That's something that's always important for any creator, is to see like someone had so much influence on this younger generation. They made something so incredibly powerful, but it was based on something that you came up with.
That if that happened, even just one person is inspired to make something because of something that I created, I view that as, that's an absolute win. uh um I don't care necessarily. I mean, obviously money is great, but I don't care about like getting paid for this. This is just what I enjoy doing, and um so if that can rub off and affect somebody else and make them create something that is unique, and something that resonates, I don't know, man, that makes me all giddy inside just thinking about it.
Good. Yeah, let's keep you giddy. Off of the Morgue Files, I would like to know something involving horror. What is the first horror movie you saw in theaters?
Oh God. Way back in my day when I was but a wee boy. I Damn, because I mean, my mom was always very strict religious, and
Mhm.
so I wasn't really allowed to see horror movies until I was like an adult. Well, in theaters, anyways. I saw movies before that, but in theaters, oh god, I want to say Saw 3
Saw 3. That was your first horror movie?
in theaters. I think so.
Impressive. I thought it was going to be early on. I was like, yeah, he probably, started in the 90s, started to see Scream and all that.
No, I saw Scream at home, like on VHS, and it used to be on cable all the time. My mom got so sick of Scream. So when I would come home from school, it would be like a rotation because they were always on cable of Scream, Good Burger, and Speed. And it's like
just thinking about that, like that combination, it makes so much sense. Good Burger, of course, had to be in there.
Yes. So I mean, I was watching horror movies like from the time, like as early as I can remember. Like one of my first Halloween costumes in elementary school was Jason Voorhees.
Awesome.
And then the Green Power Ranger, which segue, I just noticed your hat.
Yes, sir, Tommy.
That is amazing. And I know that I mentioned my my Power Rangers figures that I have. I have them here really quick. I know this is like a side tangent, but
no,
whatever.
It actually works with one of my questions, so I'm gonna segue into it.
Okay. Wait, where's Billy? Okay. So I used to have these when I was a kid, but they were stolen. But then I went into I found this the Blue Ranger.
Oh, with the head flip?
Yeah, he's got the head there. Oh god. There we go.
Classic.
Yeah, I found this somewhere, and I was like, of course I'm getting that. And then I went into a thrift store, and I saw the Green Ranger, the Black Ranger, and the Red Ranger. They all have the flip heads. They're all in pretty decent condition overall.
They look great.
Yeah, from 1993, man.
Dude, it's the luckiest.
Yeah, so I had to get them, and then this is a figure that I bought off of Amazon of the White Ranger.
Oh,
the sword.
Hell yeah. And that's with the new collection, the Lightning collection.
Yeah. And then I've got I can't dig it out because it would take too long, but I've got an Ivan Ooze figure.
I had an Ivan Ooze figure as well. I always thought he was
awesome.
part of the Batman and Robin movie because I had Mr. Freeze and I had Ivan Ooze.
That would be a great crossover.
Indeed it would, dude. I'm hoping for one day that they will take all of these older movies and just have a big, huge fan fest kind of
mash it all together.
Nostalgia. Yeah, that would be so crazy. So this goes perfectly actually into my next question. With nostalgia, with our childhood involving Power Rangers, do you think that also subconsciously you were introduced to the voice acting of the monsters in Power Rangers?
Oh, directly, man.
Directly, hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't, it's not on my channel anymore because there's like copyright or whatever. I actually did a voiceover of a scene with Lord Zed and Goldar.
Oh, you can do Goldar?
I could at the time. I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah, it's quite it's like a gargle. It's so crazy.
Let me see if I can just pull some half-assed version of it. He's always kind of talking like this and going after the Power Rangers.
Yes, exactly. And that was with Christian Bale's Batman as well. That's perfect.
Yes.
But that's
Swear to me.
Swear to me. Sorry, you did it. Swear to me. I can't even do it because my voice is too high right now. But yeah, Power Rangers. So that did influence you as a kid. You probably were entranced by I don't know, like Bryan Cranston, his monster voices, stuff like that. Yeah, Goldar is so good. What season did you stop at?
God, so I stopped watching. I don't even think it was by choice necessarily. It just circumstance. I stopped watching shortly after they brought in the new team, I guess, with like Rocky and Adam. And,
okay.
Yeah,
before Zeo.
Yeah, I saw a good portion of those, but I never saw all of them actually. And it's something I definitely want to go back and watch. And I've watched a little bit of Zio over the years. Uh, yeah, I need to get caught up on my Power Rangers, but
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a monster actor or voice actor. I think it's in Lost Galaxy. It's so damn good. It's terrifying. Also, there's a Cliptor from In Space. I would highly recommend looking that up as well. Both of those guys.
yeah, for sure.
Incredible. But Power Rangers was part of your childhood. What else was part of your childhood that got you into horror?
Well, really quick before that,
Go for it.
one of my biggest things with voice acting was, and I'm pretty sure most people who voice act had this experience, but I was watching Batman the Animated Series, one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
And I loved the Joker, and then I saw it was like some commercial or something, and it was just like, oh, I'm Mark Hamill and I voiced the Joker, and I'm like, Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is how? And I was blown away, and I was fascinated.
Yes.
And even like, because I grew up watching a bunch of the like the early Disney stuff too. And I like Judge Frollo from The Hunchback. I love that voice actor. Yeah, and then X-Men and Spider-Man, the animated series.
Yes. The best.
Yes. So yeah, what was the other question? What got me into horror?
Yeah, what got you into horror as a kid?
Like I said, it's just as early as I can remember. I was watching the Jason movies. My grandfather actually really liked the old school, like the Universal monsters and like Jaws and stuff like that. And so it was just kind of always around, and especially for Halloween, I see any of the Universal monsters and I immediately get like these nostalgic feelings and like, you know, smell of candy and all that. It's like, it's amazing.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it was great. My mom was like very strict and stuff, so
yeah,
she didn't. If there was any sex in a movie, I was not allowed to watch it.
Yeah, definitely not Friday 13th. It's Friday the 13th for you. No, thank you.
Well, I watched the TV edits of those. That's how I first watched them. But
all the gore, none of the sex.
Yes. And gore was fine. You could decapitate somebody, like rip their heart out. Like, it's fine. But if there's a boob, even one boob, can't watch it.
It's such a crazy thing with the FCC. They were so misunderstanding what it means to actually censor.
Yeah.
But they will forever be famous for all of the diehard mother fathers and all of that, you know.
Dude, it's so weird that you mentioned that, because I was just watching. I know you don't watch Always Sunny, but the guys from the show have a podcast, and it's really funny. And but they were talking about an episode where they do like a parody of Die Hard, and they were talking about that, how they had this weird TV version with just crap that didn't make any sense.
I think they had a monkey as one of the words or something.
Yeah. Dude, the TV edits, Speed. The movie Speed. There's a TV edit. There's a part where Keanu Reeves says to Sandra Bullock, he's like, he's the asshole, Annie, remember that? And she's like, big asshole. In the TV edit, he's like, he's the animal, Annie. Don't forget that. And she's like, big animal. I'm like, why is that what you go to? Like, you couldn't say like big jerk or something. It's strange. Yeah,
I think that Angry Video Game Nerd was the one that reviewed all of those great TV edits.
Yeah,
and he said that they make the movie even better.
Dude, I don't know if it technically counts as horror.
Yeah,
but RoboCop.
Violence-wise, that's definitely horror.
Yeah. I was allowed to watch that for some reason. And so I was traumatized.
Well, I would imagine.
Yeah, at the scene where I mean, I guess spoilers for like a 30-year-old movie if people haven't seen it, but when Murphy gets killed.
Yeah, the giant robot.
The fucking they like blow his hand off, and then they blow his arm off, and then I'm like, oh my god. This is horrifying. And Predator is another one.
Predator.
that I watched as a kid. There's like a skinned guy hanging in a tree. My mom's like, it's fine because there's no boobs. I was not allowed to watch the first Terminator because there's a brief sex scene in it.
There is. That's right. A brief sex scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, rated R for one reason. That's the only reason.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's insane. So okay, so biggest probably still Jason. But yeah, like you said, RoboCop traumatized you. Trauma works well in creation, especially when it comes to traumatizing your audience, like you did to me today.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I keep thinking, don't think about it before I go to bed. That's all I have. Don't think about it.
That's the desired effect.
Now I have to know, we're going to go into your music, which was right before the Morgue Files existed. What influenced you to start screaming?
So I mean, I my first like screaming vocalist that I really like connected to was Corey Taylor. But actually what got me started with screaming was Static X.
Okay.
And it's so stupid. It's one of those things like when you're a kid, it's like his voice sounded funny to me for some reason.
Yeah.
And so I would kind of mock it every now and then. And then I realized like, oh, I can kind of do this. And yeah, and then Corey and Chester Bennington.
Oh,
my two biggest influences.
Chester. Oh my God. Rest in peace.
Yes, rest in peace. Amazing vocalist, amazing person.
Legend.
Yes.
So disappointing, but with everything that we got to have while he was alive, just masterpieces. I mean, they're literally my favorite band. So
yeah, I get it. I think I can listen to everything that they've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some bands where I'll skip a song or something. Linkin Park, it's like, fuck it, I'll listen to all of it.
What about Things in My Jeep with the Lonely Island?
Well, we don't talk about that.
that's a no-go. Such a stupid song, but I was happy that the Lonely Island wanted to collaborate. So funny. All right, next question. Have you ever seen Courage the Cowardly Dog?
I watched a couple episodes after I started the voice acting stuff on YouTube. I hadn't seen it when I was a kid.
Oh.
Yeah. I literally didn't know what it was until the friend I mentioned earlier, Patrick, he was like, yeah, you gotta watch Courage. I was like, all right, but it seems weird. And then I ended up watching it and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would imagine, because for me, I took so long. I was so afraid to watch any full episode because I knew it would just get more creepy and scary. And as you were, I was also raised in a religious household, so it was like, that's demonic, that's evil, we can't have that. And I was like, okay. And I watched Freaky Fred on YouTube, I think a couple years ago, and I was just like, man, am I happy I missed that. But I could say
that is horrifying.
Yeah, I could say for a voice actor, it's perfect for practice. Like, you get so much range from that show.
When I watched it, I'm like, how did I not even know about this show as a kid? It seems like the kind of thing I would have enjoyed as a kid.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it.
No, when I was a kid, outside of like the superhero, like Batman and X-Men, all that.
Yeah.
I loved the show Gargoyles.
Nice.
I fucking love that show. And Keith David is an amazing actor. He voiced Goliath in that show. He has been in so many movies. He's voiced in video games. He was Spawn in the HBO series. He's awesome.
Just a phenomenal voice actor.
Yes.
There's also Dragonis from the animated series Mighty Ducks. I loved that dude's voice.
Dude, to this day, because like it was weird. I loved Mighty Ducks, but for some reason I never, how do I even explain this? I never understood the story or what was going on. I just loved it. So I constantly, when it was on, I'm like, oh yeah, Mighty Ducks, this is awesome. but I couldn't tell you any of the character names or anything.
There was Wild Wing. There's Bernard. I think that's about it for my memory right now. But I had
better than me.
My parents got the VHS tape and it had the first 3 episodes, but it came in the same casing as like a Disney movie. So in my mind, I was like, wow, this movie is really long. and by the end of it, for the longest time, I was like, it's not it. Wait, it's a show. It's there's more to that. This isn't the end. I never apparently got to the to be continued part of it, I guess. But yeah, I love the voice acting in that show. And then one of the most terrifying things that once again I didn't get into until much later in time. My fiance and I watched this movie, and holy shit, is it fucked up for kids? The Brave Little Toaster.
Oh, that's one that I only saw, I think, once when I was a kid. I don't remember it. Was it scary?
Dude, it is horrifying. The whole entire story is about an existential crisis for appliances. You know, you can get that part. But like, you're talking about a suicidal vacuum cleaner. You're talking about a clown that consistently shows up and has like knives, and it's like the most horrific looking animation. Like, oh man, they got away with everything. And the music, oh, crazy stuff. 90s were awesome.
That was the cool thing about the 90s. There was a lot of horror influence in everything.
Yeah. I think actually it was late 80s. Yeah, late 80s.
Yeah.
It was so good though.
It was like, well, the 80s was like the heyday of the slasher movies. So horror was huge at the time.
Yes.
I remember there was a show called Bobby's World that my sister and I used to watch. It was a little cartoon with Howie Mandel voicing characters. It was amazing. But there's an episode where like they pick up a hitchhiker and it's like implied that he's like a serial killer and they're like terrified of him. And when I was a kid, I was scared too. I was like, "What? Get this guy out of your car!"
Yeah.
Yeah. There were a lot of Street Sharks was another one that I watched.
Street Sharks. That sounds like early Rocket Power. That's what it sounds like to me.
You've never seen Street Sharks?
I have not.
Imagine the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they're sharks. It's literally that. There's 4 of them. They get mutated into sharks. They've got all these enemies. That there's like Dr. Paranoid. It's so amazing.
Oh, it sounds great. Is there any way to find it these days? Like, is it on the streaming service?
Oh God, that's a good question. I'm sure it is if you look for it. I have it on DVD. It's amazing. It's like one of the sharks is named Ripster. It's so good. I think there's like a Slamoo is one of them.
Slam.
Yes, like Shamu, but you know.
Oh God, they are just throwing those puns out as much as they could.
it was amazing, dude. Yeah, so that was one I watched. Obviously, the Ninja Turtles. I watched. Yeah. There was.
Did you watch Freakazoid?
No.
That's
another one that I was told like I should have watched as a kid. I'm like, I didn't even know it existed.
Dude, Tim Curry was in it.
Yes.
And not only was he in it, he was over exaggerated in every scene. Like, I didn't realize it until I think I saw the Nostalgia Critic go over like how great the show was. And I was like, oh my gosh, Tim Curry. Yeah, that's right. He did over exaggerate every line.
They called me mad, insane, Wendell. They barred me from the universities until I had no choice but to flee here and conduct my research. Well, who's crazy now? Who's mad now?
Try the casserole, Freakazoid, before it gets cold.
I saw that.
He's a ridiculous character. But
wasn't Tim Curry also Nigel Thornberry?
That could be. I wouldn't know actually.
I think he is from the Wild Thornberries.
But speaking of incredible voice acting that I never knew, did you know Howie Mandel was Gizmo from the Gremlins?
Yes.
I learned that just recently, and I was like, "What?"
Dude, a lot of that comes out in Bobby's World. Because
Oh.
I think I don't know if he voices all the characters, but he voices most of them. He voices the little boy Bobby, and there's some Gizmo type sounds in there.
What the this guy was Tara Strong before Tara Strong.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I remember finding out that was how I'm like, really? The little kid with the adorable voice? Like that doesn't make sense. But yeah, go watch Bobby's World if you haven't. Like
Bobby's World, Skate Sharks,
Street Sharks.
Street Sharks, Street Sharks. Sounds epic.
Dude, that's pretty much the narrator that they had. It's like next time on Street Sharks.
Awesome. That sounds epic. Yeah, that and the Ninja Turtles. I have never seen anything but the animated stuff, so I definitely want to go through live action as well.
That's a mixed bag, but the first Ninja Turtles movie, I swear by that movie's amazing.
Oh yeah,
it's so dark for a supposed kids movie.
Mhm.
It's got these really adult themes with like the potential loss of a parental figure and the potential loss of a brother. Like,
bro,
it goes into there's this whole dude. I cry at that movie.
Dude,
there's this whole emotional part where one of the turtles is just beaten to hell, and they're all like just hoping that he recovers.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's the saddest thing.
That sounds sad. That's good though. That's good story writing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say when it comes to like losing your parental characters, I mean, literally the genocide that almost happened in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
Like, everybody walk to your doom. It's like, holy shit, guys. Really pushing the envelope.
That fucking purple gack shit. It made all the parents want to die.
It's so crazy. And I had the same feeling when I watched Plankton take over everybody's mind in the SpongeBob movie. I was like, damn, this is dark.
But I love that when they can throw in a bit of darkness into, because I mean, kids are not stupid.
No,
they're like they can grasp darker themes. You don't have to talk down to them by making it so dumb all the time. Like,
as long as they understand the darker stuff is wrong, that's where you can be like, okay, let's draw the line here. That's very evil. Let's not do that to your brother.
See, I loved villains I just loved villains more than the heroes, but in my personal life, I knew they're bad, and it's not something that you should do. It's just in terms of like a work of fiction, they're more entertaining, I think.
Except for Darth Vader, he's badass.
Yes, Darth Vader is the shit, and not necessarily like a physically imposing person, but Hans Gruber from Die Hard.
Oh, yes,
amazing,
great character.
Yes,
I wish he could come back, but I don't want him to. Because it would kill everything. First of all, the actor's not there. Second of all, the storyline wouldn't make any sense.
No,
because then you'd have to go with the Fast and Furious logic that everybody could just magically come back.
But it's for family, man. It's for
family. What does he say? Family. He's like, yeah, you like whisper, growl. All right. Next question. Who inspired you to make your YouTube channel?
I don't know if a person inspired me to do it necessarily. When I first started on YouTube, I was making Slipknot vocal covers. That's what my channel was, and then I started branching out, trying to do other. I did like a couple songs from old school Drowning Pool. I did Laid to Rest from Lamb of God. I was just doing vocal covers. That was my YouTube channel. So I guess in terms of the voice acting, it was my friend Patrick. I don't even know how he got into it, but he somehow started getting a couple of like gigs, like voice acting and stuff.
Oh,
yeah, and he was like, hey, so you know, you have a cool voice. You should start like voice acting and stuff. And I was like, all right, like I like acting and stuff, so I'll give it a shot. So yeah, I ended up starting the voice acting stuff, and then that just kind of took off, and that's what my channel became.
Awesome. And you started with the Alex Terrible method. So move over, Alex Terrible. This guy did it first.
Yeah, but Alex did it better, which is the important distinction.
Dude, Alex, one of the most ferocious growls I've ever heard in my life. His
Yes.
song "Agony" with "Slaughter to Prevail." Holy shit, do I love that song?
I love that song and Demolisher and why am I Baba Yaga?
Yeah, oh, of course.
Yeah, it's all good.
Perfect, man. Now, you said that you love movie reviews. Is there any review that inspired your way to criticize film?
Damn, that is a good question. Um, I don't know if it counts as a review, but Cinema Sins.
Yes.
I started watching Cinema Sins and like everything wrong with this movie in so many minutes, and they started pointing out all the, and I'm like, huh, that's something I never thought about. And so I kind of carried that with me, like in trying to write stuff. I try to think in the back of my mind, like, would this get a sin count?
Yes.
So, and from that, I also learned not to include random people yelling, "No!" It's like it's so cheesy. I mean, I guess it can work sometimes, but in most contexts, it's just cheesy and it feels like just something they throw into movies. It's not a natural thing. So yeah, I guess Cinema Sins was it kind of helped shape how I view works of fiction.
That's so good though. I mean, he was so good at everything he was doing from the beginning. Because
Yeah.
the little dings and stuff like that, we all know roll credits.
Yeah.
But he was so honest, and he still is. He's very brutal these days. He doesn't hold back at all. And there are movies that I love. I'll be like, you cannot say a damn word about Baby Driver, and then I'll finish the movie review, and I'll be like, he's right, he's right, he's right.
Yeah. There were a few reviews in particular where I was just yeah, it was like movies that I loved and I'm like, there's no way you can take this apart, but he did. And I respect it because it's like even if you like something, you should still be able to see both the good and the bad. Because if you just have blinders on and you're only seeing the good, I don't know, it's just a weird mindset to have.
The thing that bothers me is that some critics will lose their enjoyment because they see like a couple of flaws. And I'm like,
Yeah.
your first time seeing a film, you should usually go in with the magic of the movie. You're escaping into this reality that's not your reality and going along with this character and seeing what their journey is. But yeah, the second time you want to criticize it, but you shouldn't lose what you felt the first time unless it's like really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I mean, there's movies. Terminator 2 is an example. Like, I fucking adored that movie growing up. And I still do. I love it. But there's some stuff in T2 where I'm like not entirely sure why. Like, mainly, like, there's some deleted scenes if you watch like the full version where like John Connor is like trying to teach the Terminator how to smile. And I'm just like, why? He's the Terminator. He doesn't need to smile.
You want to hear my criticism for the first movie?
Yes.
This is my main criticism. Why the fuck is there an iguana on top of a bookshelf?
Because why not? Iguanas
That's
are
why
awesome.
I was like, there's gotta be a reason for everything. Why the hell is there an iguana? Bookshelf? It's such a weird thing. I was like, does everyone not remember this part? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the 80s were a hell of a time, man.
They really
Random
were.
iguanas in your futuristic robot slasher movie. It's so strange.
So good though.
Kind of off topic, but another movie that inspired me with horror, which is not necessarily a horror movie,
Yeah,
is Cobra with Sylvester Stallone.
I've never seen that.
Uh, I to this day I love that movie, but the people shit on it. They're like, "Oh, this is not his best movie. It's blah blah blah." I don't know. I really like it. I love the atmosphere of it, but it's essentially Stallone plays kind of a hard-boiled cop that they send in to do the dirty work and whatever. But there's like this gang, I guess you'd call them, these weirdos who are I don't even really know how to describe their goal other than they describe it as like killing the weak so the strong survive in a new world type thing.
Okay.
But that movie has some horrific there's one scene in particular where Sylvester Stallone comes to his like apartment or whatever it is, condo, and he's like sitting there cleaning his gun. It's like just a pretty basic scene, but like the new it's like a on the TV, there's like a commercial for Toys R Us for Christmas, and then it goes into a news report about this night slasher like creeping in through people's windows at night, and like it just creeped me the fuck out when I was a kid. Just the way the music shifts and everything. It's like, oh god, like I feel like there's somebody watching me right now.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there's some horror moments in that movie for sure.
Well, intentional, of course. I'm guessing that it's probably the director of the film. They had a vision that was probably horrific, and they were like, "Nah, let's make it an action movie. It's got Stallone."
No, actually, Stallone was the one who basically made the thing.
Oh,
the director wasn't on set that much by himself. It was
Okay.
Stallone mainly handling it, and yeah, he wanted. I guess it was based on a book or something.
Okay.
But yeah, he wanted it to be. I mean, it's a Stallone movie, so there's going to be action. But yeah, there's a fair amount of horror. There's a whole sequence in a hospital where the night slasher is like chasing a girl, and it's very reminiscent of like Halloween 2.
Yeah.
A couple elements of The Shining mixed in there.
Oh,
I don't know. I think it's a solid movie.
that sounds like a great mix. I would totally check that out. Now that I can handle horror and stuff like that, I'll say my first experience with a jump scare was Spider-Man 2.
Which
and
part?
that was the one with Tobey Maguire, of course. Doc Ock is climbing up Harry's wall. I think it's like on his
Yes,
building, and it
yes.
just does the jump scare with the claw. Also, of course, the hospital scene for that, installing the claws and they're coming to life, the sentience. That was fucking crazy. Sam Raimi was not for kids.
I was gonna say those were definitely Sam Raimi isms. Like,
Yeah.
you can feel the Sam Raimi influence in those scenes.
And then my movie movie review that got me into criticizing film, I watched Chris Stuckman's review of the Lego Movie. That's what got me basically into his channel. His content is everything, but the way that he described this movie, especially the way that I saw it when I was, I don't know, young adult, I was like, this is a really good movie. And he was like, yeah, it looks like product placement and actually has good story, humor, writing, everything about it is, phenomenal. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I own it on 4K. It's literally right next to me because of that kind of review for it. And so every time I would go into a movie with that mindset of maybe it is just to be a product placement, but maybe there's something else there. Maybe it's actually trying to give you something of entertainment and story. And I have always given every movie a shot that I possibly can, just because there's going to be something you can be optimistic about in almost anything, and especially bad movies. Oh my god, so much fun.
Yeah, I do. If you ever want, like, I don't know how many good bad movies you've seen, but if you want, I can give you like a list.
Yes, please do.
There's so many good ones. I don't know if you've seen Samurai Cop, but that's one of my favorites.
This actually goes directly into my next question. What is your favorite comedy style?
Oh, I don't know if there's a particular style, but I can name some of my favorite comedy movies, and maybe that will help.
All right.
I love Step Brothers.
Okay.
With Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. I love Good Burger. Mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead is like a horror comedy.
Yep.
God, I know. Oh, Liar Liar with Jim Carrey.
Okay.
And then so I love anything with Robin Williams.
Okay.
Um,
did you like Death to Smoochie?
I've never seen that. Never seen.
It's such a weird movie.
But stuff like Mrs. Doubtfire or Patch Adams or Patch Adams was a surprise to me because that's one that I had never seen until recently.
I have to see it still.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I've heard the name, but I've never really heard people talk about it. So I'm like, oh, it's probably not that great. But dude, I was impressed. Like it had the emotional, it was funny. Like it felt like an iconic Robin Williams role. And I don't know why people don't talk about it more, but yeah. I really liked it.
I have to see that. I have to see Good Will Hunting. I haven't
oh my god
completed Mrs. Doubtfire, and I haven't seen what's the other Good Morning Vietnam.
I've not seen Good Morning Vietnam either. I still need to watch that. But what I love about Robin Williams is like he's funny as hell, but he's also an amazing dramatic actor. Like
yes,
he really makes you feel, and just the expression in his eyes, and he has like a vulnerability about him that you just like. At least me, and especially since his death, like I cannot watch a Robin Williams movie without crying. I just can't. Even something like Hook.
Yes. Oh, amazing.
Love that movie. And it's like on the surface, it's a grown man as Peter Pan, and there's all these like crazy moments with the imaginary food fight or whatever. And like
I love that scene.
Oh, it's amazing. But I'm just like, and it's somehow with all this craziness, he gives you really emotional moments.
Yes.
Where you feel, and it's just there's not a lot of actors like that nowadays. That can truly make you feel and be extremely funny at the same time.
Rest in peace to Robin Williams as well. We had talked about Chester. We had given him so much praise. Robin Williams, huge impact on the world of comedy. Everybody knew him. Every single person. And he was part of my childhood. My favorite Disney movie is Aladdin. And I couldn't think of anyone else playing that character, you know?
This is not completely random because you mentioned Aladdin, but I was so disappointed with the live action remake when I saw the ad or the trailer or whatever, because like I remember growing up with Aladdin and Jafar is like terrifying.
Yep.
And like that part, he's like, bring me the lamp. And then in the new one, I think in the live action one, the guy's just like, you go in and bring me the lamp. And I'm like,
no, dude. Jafar is a bitch. Iago is more terrifying in the new one. I was so upset after I saw it, and I had all the nostalgia finally drain out of my bloodstream. My fiance and I actually reviewed that as one of our first videos on my channel, and you can still go watch it. It's split up into 3 parts because I didn't have an editing software yet. But like we were like praising it, and after I saw it multiple times and all the criticism, of course. It was the lighting. And I was telling my friend just the other day in the other interview I did with Jimmy, I was like, man, they screwed up so bad because you made the Cave of Wonders the darkest part, which is, you know, perfect, fine. It's a cave. It's supposed to be dark and have those like cool little glimmery lights. But then the rest of the movie is all tinted, and it's all tinted dark. And it's like, it's just way too realistic. I hate realism in Disney. It does not work well.
Yeah, I think they did the same thing with The Little Mermaid. Like it just looks so real and normal. It's not fun or interesting to look at.
I'm going to tell you, this is going to controversial. Cancel me right now. I have an opinion. Canceled. Little Mermaid. Guys, you saw the trailer, right? We all know the iconic scene where Ariel comes out and she has her hair fly over her head in the cartoon version. In this one, it literally looks like shit on her head. Just shit flying over because it's so dark. Her hair looks brown. It looks like shit.
I think that was, I think for me, that's the biggest downfall of The Little Mermaid. Because like, I actually don't think it was handled terribly. Like, I feel like the girl is a decent Ariel. Like, it's fine, but just visually, man, it's awful. And
That's-
the CGI looks so bad.
Oh yeah, and the hyperrealism with Scuttle and Sebastian and fucking Flounder is an actual fish. Like, oh my gosh, there's no expression.
Sebastian is something from the seventh circle of hell. I hate it.
He's part of
fucking
Dante's
eyes.
Inferno. He's the the ultimate uncanny valley character.
Yes. God, it's like they tried to give him almost cartoony looking eyes on like a realistic crab, and it's so bizarre. It's an odd choice. The only Disney live action that I really thought was solid was The Jungle Book.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
That's 100% correct. And we got more to the story than the original gave us.
Yeah. I think it's better.
I never understood that man's what they said, red flower. I never understood that was fire as a kid. But how they made it in the 2016 movie, I was like, oh, fire. Fire
Yeah.
burns down jungle. You want to have control over that flame. Okay, that makes sense. And there's only one song, and it's with Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Out of all people. More cowbell. Just kidding.
Guys, I got a fever. I cannot do Christopher Walken's voice, but it's so good.
Indeed. And yeah, that movie is a compliment to the original story, and it follows the original book, which is so important. If Disney wanted to do that and make the Grimm stories a bit more realistic, I guess that's fine. But what they're redoing is the Disney animated ones that we already are in love with and don't need any changing, especially with PC bullshit.
Yeah, it's like they're, rather than doing like a new version, they're literally just making the same thing but with all the heart pulled out of it.
Yeah, take the heart away, add way too much culture, way too much. I mean, I understood the scene is so important in Aladdin, but I'm also like, a dance scene, really, guys? I mean, it's not even a musical number. They're just dancing. Like, what are we doing here? I get it. We're in India. Cool. Thanks for the reminder. I'm watching a movie.
Yeah, because like I noticed with Aladdin and The Little Mermaid, and I think most of them actually, there's like an extra 45 minutes added to like what the cartoon runtime was.
Yep.
And yet you don't get anything of value.
No, the
in that
only one
extra
that
time.
stuck to it 100% was Lion King, and look how bad that did.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it did great money-wise, but not great as the holdup that they thought it would be. Like, wow, look at the cool new animation, realistic, hyper-realistic. It's like they have no expressions. I don't know if you watch Pitch Meeting, but he pointed out and roasted that movie so perfectly when he talks about how the cat, like, it sounds like it's crying, so it must be crying. Well, the voice actor's crying, so obviously Simba's crying.
Yeah, there's stuff that you can do in animation that you just can't in live action, and making talking animals is one of those things that really only works in cartoons.
Yeah.
Because you can animate it in a way where they have actual expressions that don't work on a realistic animal. So I don't understand what they're going for there, but
I love it though. We got on a Disney tangent. All right. Final question for you. Do you have any questions for me?
Oh my God. Yeah. Your questions are so good, man. They kind of catch me off guard.
It's all good, man.
Do I have any questions for you? All right, here's a question. Where would you like to see the interview portion of what you do? Where would you like to see that in the next 5 years?
I would love to have an opportunity to interview or even just chat with someone that I have idolized for a very long period of time. So let's say Eminem. That would be the ultimate goal for the channel, would be to talk to somebody that has so much influence on me. I mean, that was my first reason for collecting media. Like, that is the reason Media Man Dan exists, because when I went to see him, this is my first concert ever, I had collected all of his albums, all of his magazines, all of his records, everything that I could possibly find, posters. I was obsessed like a stan. And to have that opportunity to actually like just thank him for my time with his music and for all the therapeutic help basically that his music gives, and also to just understand how his magnificent brain works, especially with freestyles, would be a treat, a gift to mankind.
It's a good answer, man. Yeah, I mean, Eminem was that was something that I had to listen to with headphones, because if my mom heard any of it, like it would have been smashed. But yeah, I was the same way. Like I loved everything that he did, and it spoke to me. That was the first time that any rap music had spoken to me like that. And I really related to it. And I had like magazines and everything. I tried to dress like Eminem at one point. I had like a mixtape that I recorded songs when they would play them on the radio.
Dude, yes, 100%. I'm with you in all of that. You know the recovery age of Eminem, like 2010. I got a leather jacket. I had the cross, and I was wearing white t-shirts all the time.
See, I was
even shaved part of my head at that time, you know, got it down to like a 2 all over.
See, I was like the old school, like Slim Shady LP, and like that was my, like that's what I wanted to be,
like the intro to 21 Jump Street.
Yeah. That's another comedy that I enjoy.
Excellent.
But let's see, I had another question, and then we were talking about Eminem.
You're good. I have another question for you. I forgot to ask it.
Well, ask that.
Okay. What is your favorite horror genre?
Ooh. I mean, the easy answer would be like slashers, just because, you know, they're fun most of the time. Those movies,
so fun.
Yeah. But I'm not sure what you would call it. Maybe Lovecraftian, like cosmic horror. Like I love all that kind of stuff. Like John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah,
is in that vein, and it's just that like isolation and you, there's like a thing among you.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing. To this day, that's the kind of thing that actually kind of creeps me out. Like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I love that movie.
I was gonna say They Live also.
Yes, They Live. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, when I first watched that, like I kind of knew the premise that like there's pod people and whatever. I was not ready for the amount of like the paranoia that movie gave me. And especially because like when I first watched it, I lived in this like really secluded area, so there was always like a weird vibe anyways. And then yeah, just watching that movie, I was like, oh my god, like I'm never gonna be able to go out in public again. Yeah.
So Invasion of the Body. What about Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
I think I only saw that once.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I don't really remember it.
Yeah,
I'm sure I would enjoy it if I watched it again.
Highly recommend.
Yeah. I guess Alien Invasion is a way to describe all of these as well. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Thing, The Faculty is another one. Yeah, I like that kind of shit. I also like, I don't know if it's necessarily horror, but stuff like Taxi Driver or Joker or Pearl is a more recent one, where it's just some loner who's different and they don't fit in with everybody else, and then everything just goes horribly wrong, even though they kind of want to be normal.
Yeah.
They don't know how, and so it ends up just snapping them. I enjoy those kinds of movies.
Dude, Joker. I've never seen King of Comedy, and I've never seen Taxi Driver. When I saw the Joker, I was blown away because, you know, it's creative and new to me. I hadn't seen any of its predecessors. And so when the snap scene happened, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God, this is so brutal. And they had the midget joke. They added that comedy for no apparent reason in that scene. I was like, okay, we could have gone with the full darkness, but you're just like, I can't reach the door.
But that's such a like perfect scene for a Joker movie, I think.
Yeah.
It's like that balance of like something horrific just happened, and then I'm like dying of laughter a couple minutes later.
Because he's got to open the door for him.
Yeah, I laughed probably more than I should have. He's just out there. I can't get the door. But there's still the tension there, even though it's a funny moment. Because you're like,
my God,
oh
before
shit,
that, yeah, edge of your seat.
Because I was like, oh, is this part of the plan? Is he still gonna kill this guy? But he doesn't. He just lets him go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't seen King of Comedy, but Taxi Driver. I mean, there's some obvious like homage, I would say, but it's definitely not. Like some people say that Joker's just a remake of Taxi Driver. I wouldn't go that far.
Okay, so they're not that similar.
No, like there's definitely, for example, the part you know in Joker, he puts the gun to his head like with his fingers
in the elevator.
Yeah. In Taxi Driver, that's a thing, but it's one finger, but he does that like, and then the line you're just like the rest of them. That's in Taxi Driver, but there's definitely homages, but it's very much its own movie too.
Perfect. Well, now I know.
If you do go into Taxi Driver, don't expect like an action movie.
Okay.
It's very slow paced, but it has a pretty explosive ending. I guess similar to Joker in a way. Like it takes its time, but then like when everything hits the fan, it's like, oh my God.
Well, I will try to prepare for that. I'll watch a couple other graphic movies beforehand and be like, okay, I can handle this. I still haven't seen Saving Private Ryan. I need to see that.
Dude, that movie, I was gonna watch that again pretty recently here because I saw it's on is it on Netflix or
yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, it's on one of the streaming services. And I was like, yeah, that's a good movie, man. That's a damn good movie. The thing with war movies though is like you have to be prepared to like potentially just feel depressed for a few hours afterwards.
Yeah, they don't all have the happy ending that some of these movies do.
Have you seen Braveheart?
I have not.
Dude, you got to watch Braveheart.
My fiance loves that movie.
It's so good.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. And the speech that he gives, like,
yeah,
iconic.
Yeah, it's amazing. Obviously not a horror movie, but yeah, I like when they're done right. I love those kinds of movies too, like the kind of war period piece epics like that.
Like Last Samurai?
Yeah, and Gladiator.
Gladiator, yeah. All the big ones.
Yeah.
Taking on the culture and the history. My my English teacher got really upset with the history of the Patriot. He said that it logically doesn't make any sense at all, especially for the time period they're going for.
This is completely random, but
go for it.
A movie that I recently watched about a year or two ago, and it like really stuck with me, and it was just amazing, but it's dark and dreary. Is Prisoners. Yeah, it's from 2013. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal, Hugh Jackman, Paul Dano.
Say no more. Jake Gyllenhaal's in it. I've got to see this movie.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's oh my God. The general plot, without spoiling anything, is that some kids go missing, and Jake Gyllenhaal plays like the detective that ends up having to look into the situation, and Hugh Jackman is a father who is, his daughter's missing, and he gives such. I'm shocked he did not get nominated for an Oscar. Yeah, it's so good, man. You've got to see it. It's on Netflix.
Okay, I will definitely watch it because if it's on Netflix, I definitely have that.
It's got Viola Davis in it as well, and Terrence Howard.
She's such a great actress.
I watched Fences with her and Denzel Washington.
Dude, what a drama!
I was fucking like just broken by the end. But it's
Man.
like it's so good.
Denzel, I don't think there's any bad project he's ever been part of.
Yeah.
I think that he is the sole reason that we have great cinema. I mean, of course, you can come from like Remember the Titans, but like anything that guy does, he has put 110% in, and he's so genuine as a person too. I've actually got to watch him talk about like how he thinks of life and everything, and I'm like, man, he's so based. This is great. You don't see that in Hollywood too often, but he's so honest, and yeah, I love watching him perform in any movie. So Fences, oh, amazing.
Yeah. The great thing about Fences is like, because normally Denzel, I just immediately have like, it's just like a natural thing to like him. Like he's just likable. He's great. In that movie, I kind of hated him.
Oh yeah,
his character is such a dick, and I'm just like, that's how you know he's a great actor. Like, despite your pre established notion that you're going to like him, you just hate him by the end.
Yeah, that will never happen for me with Ryan Reynolds.
Even with Amityville Horror,
I have to see the full movie. I've seen the end of it, and I had no fucking idea what I was watching. It was like 3 a.m. I was like, I'm just gonna scan through the channels, and I came across the hook hand dude talking, and I was like, oh, okay, what the fuck is this? And then he goes to the library and he's looking into it, and then it does like the old VHS tape, and it's like showing the history of the family. I'm like, oh, I don't like this movie. And you do the thing where you're like, oh, if I mute the movie, it's not that bad. No, it was that bad. I had no idea who Ryan Reynolds was at the time too, so that did not help. But honestly, now that I know who he is, I mean, I really want to see Voices. I think that's one of his like most underrated independent like horror comedy films. I don't know if you've seen it.
That's a movie I started watching, and then I forget what it was now, but something happened where I had to like stop it.
Oh,
and I never got back to it, and I need to.
Now I reminded you.
Yes.
Yeah, the movie's insane.
Check that out again.
I've seen clips of it. I can handle the rated R violence and stuff like that, so I can actually watch it in full. Can't say the same for Sweeney Todd. I watched the death scenes of that, and I was like, why is this so insanely brutal?
Dude, I love Sweeney Todd though.
Are you gonna watch the Broadway with Josh Groban?
Is that a thing?
Yes.
What? He's in Sweeney Todd?
Yes. He's not in Sweeney Todd. He is Sweeney Todd.
Dude, yes. I'm gonna have to watch that.
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah, My Friends, you can go and find it on Spotify right now. Plug for Josh Groban, one of my favorite vocalists, and the reason that I know how to do opera.
The absolute goat.
Oh, absolutely. And funny dude. Yeah. All right. Final question that you had for me. I can't remember if you remember it.
Oh my god, it's so far gone now. I will ask you.
Okay.
Because you enjoy horror, right?
I finally do. I will say that my first experience with horror was It 2017. And I avoided the genre until like Doctor Sleep came out, and I was like, okay, I've seen The Shining. I can watch Doctor Sleep. The story goes together. And then my fiance 2 years ago took me to see the anniversary of Scream in theaters.
Dude,
and
that's amazing.
I didn't know I was in for Scream. I didn't know what we were in for. She was like, I got you horror movie tickets because you wanted to get into horror. We're going to try this out. I'm like, okay, hope I'm not terrified. And I left that movie standing ovation. I was amazed with how good that movie was, and I was like, yes, this is my movie. This is like now my franchise. So I bought all of it. But okay, sorry, tangent. What was your question?
No, it's all good. Which also I realized because of the angle, like people probably couldn't even see. But yes, we're both wearing Ghostface. There's the thumbnail right there. We're both holding up our Ghostface shirts. But yeah, so out of the horror movies that you've seen,
yes,
what would you choose as the best and the worst that you've seen?
Best horror movie of all time. I'm still going to say Scream, but I'm also going to tag along The Shining. Well,
An
Stanley
absolute
Kubrick's
classic.
Shining. Yes. Reason for probably the easiest movie to get anyone into horror because
Yeah.
it is the slow burn and it's so damn effective. And the cinematography with the kid on the bike, holy shit. Like that was ahead of its time. That was the GoPro before GoPro. That was impressive to make that shot. And when they redid it, and Doctor Sleep, spoiler for anybody that hasn't seen it, amazing. But yeah, I'd say Scream still, just for the Scooby-Doo twist. I don't know if there's anything that will ever reach the level that first Scream movie has done for my life. I can't explain. I think we've watched the movie since we saw the first one. I think we saw it 7 more times. Like we watched the whole series like twice to get ready for 5, to get ready for 6, and I just can't stop enjoying it. It's so much fun. And like you even praised Nev Campbell as the best final girl, and everybody has praised her, and it's so true. Like the casting was so damn good and effective, and the twist, if anybody hasn't seen it, just you don't see it coming, and I love that. I love that so much. Also the callbacks. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I've seen Scream possibly more than any other movie, and I never get tired of it. Like it's that good. And I'm not sure what it is about it. It was just the right recipe of the writing, the directing, the cast, the music choices, like the costumes, like everything just worked, and it feels fresh every time you watch it.
Yeah, and it's a
insane.
perfect combo with Good Burger.
Yes, yes, it is. Seriously, rotation, Good Burger, Speed, and Scream. And my mom got very sick of all of them.
Speed is such a damn good movie too.
Oh, it I've seen other movies try to do a similar premise, and they never seem to be as exciting.
No.
And I don't know why they can't capture. Well, all right, this is a complete side tangent, but how does Transformers from 2007 look better than Transformers in 2023?
Oh, you're talking about the Beast Wars, whatever it's called?
Like just the CGI. I mean, like how does the 2007 one look so much better?
Because Michael Bay, when he's not staring at babes and jacking off to the American flag, he is.
But can you blame him for either of those things?
Of course not. Of course not. But I mean, when he's not tinting everything to be orange, he is actually able to fund some insane shit. And, he had the hype going for him. So that first movie, they definitely mastered the effect at that time. It doesn't hold up these days. If you watch it on 4K, you're like, ugh. It doesn't do the same thing that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, does with their Megazord. Oh, that is just absolute shit. But yeah, it's definitely amazing for 2007 that we got to have that. And I will never forget playing the video game and just pressing triangle to transform back and forth, transform, because I was so obsessed with how the movements work and like how close they got to the movie. Also, I mean, Linkin Park. It was like there was the cherry on top of everything, man. The soundtrack and everything. Oh, amazing. But you're absolutely correct. How is it that we have so many sequels, especially like Bumblebee, and they don't even reach the level that 2007 Transformers was at?
And I would argue the same with Jurassic Park.
Oh my!
Like I would say the original one looks from 1993 or whatever looks way better than Jurassic World.
Yeah, practical effects versus CG or early CG versus new CG should always look older, and somehow Jurassic Park has stood the test of time. It's also the year I was born, so I have so much like appreciation for it. Like that's the go-to 1993 movie. But I actually didn't see it till high school because I loved dinosaurs as a kid, but my parents like probably saw it or something like that, and they were like, "Oh, that's scary. We don't want to show them that." And so I saw it in high school on a projector screen, and I still jumped. It's like it's on DVD. It didn't even have the Blu-ray yet. That wasn't a thing. So I was like, why am I so scared? It's a projector screen in the middle of like a classroom. But it's that effective, and oh my god, the soundtrack. Oh,
Yeah.
Spielberg at his best, and of course John Williams, the mastermind.
John Williams is so good, man. I I was watching how what is it? What is it? Why am I drawing a blank? The Movies That Made Us on
Okay.
Netflix. And they had one about Jurassic Park, and but they had one about Home Alone. And they were talking about how in Home Alone they had another composer, I think, initially, and it was like really bad. And then they were like, well, what if we had John Williams do the music? And
Yeah.
and they were like, hey, you want to do this? And he was like, yes. And it's like, so you get this classic iconic music, and yeah, and then Jurassic Park, I mean, Jaws, like, the dude is amazing. Star Wars,
He's the reason everything works the way that it does, with the main big movies of, the 80s, and I guess some of the 90s as well. But my favorite combination of all time when it comes to cinema is the fact that George Lucas got with Steven Spielberg to create Land Before Time. Like, out of all things, you're like, wait a second, these two masterminds created a kids movie of animated dinosaurs.
but
It's so good.
that movie is so sad.
It is.
Like, and I mean, I think if you had somebody else making that movie, it wouldn't have been as effective.
Oh, it's true.
So I think it's kind of cool that, yeah, these kinds of people can step outside of their normal, I guess, and still give us something awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's crazy.
Like Sam Raimi with Spider-Man, Danny Elfman with Spider-Man, dude. We would never expect Danny Elfman to be on a superhero soundtrack, And he made the iconic opening. That movie, like, saved my life. Like, that movie was like everything I needed to have in front of me as a kid to really appreciate cinema. Like, the other movies were fantastic animated movies, but we never got anything as good as that first Spider-Man, at that time. It was so cool. So cool.
I remember when the first Spider-Man came out, like, I was a huge Spider-Man fan, and I just remember being so blown away by seeing Spider-Man actually swinging around the cities and stuff.
Yes.
Like, it was so, my brain couldn't comprehend, like, wow, like, this is amazing.
And as a kid, you're not even like thinking about like, how did they do that? You're just like, that's Spider-Man.
Yes. And there's a shot in Spider-Man 2, just before, like, when he's like swinging through the city, and it like cuts to this close up, and the suit looks fucking gorgeous.
Oh,
and
yes.
it's like kind of slow motion, as I'm like, oh my god,
it was magic, just magic.
And I don't think any Spider-Man has come close to those first two.
I agree. And
I still enjoy some of them, but
yeah. I mean, of course, we appreciate all of everything that was created to make No Way Home a thing, but Tobey's Spider-Man, the way that they made everything just work. Also, Willem Dafoe,
amazing.
The casting. And everybody's like 40 in high school. Like, it was so corny, but it was so effective. And all of us kids, we wanted to get the web slinger. We wanted to get the mask. We wanted to walk around at Halloween. Everybody was Spider-Man, for like 17 years, it felt like. It was so cool.
I had an action figure from Spider-Man 2 that they really made a selling point. Like, this thing has like 63 points of articulation
with the fingers.
Yeah,
and the little toes and shit. Oh my god, I remember that.
I had to get it because I was so obsessed. But yeah, dude, those eyes, those horrible yellow eyes. It's amazing, all of it. I feel like. Okay, here's a question too. What is your favorite comic book movie?
Well, we already answered it.
No,
but if we're talking about
no, go ahead.
modern movies that have come out, I can say, dude, I have never seen a movie in theaters more than Deadpool.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Deadpool.
I saw that movie 8 times in theaters.
Holy, in theaters.
In theaters. I've seen it like 60 times in general. But yeah, like it is so well done. And I had finally, grown into the people can swear, superheroes can swear. And I played the video game beforehand because my friend was getting me into all of this, like South Park, GTA. I was finally getting that edginess, and I was like 20, 21, 22, I don't know. And when the movie came out, I was like, all right, well, let's see if it's that edgy. And I was listening to stupid Grace Randolph, and she's like, the gore is just so realistic. I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I can handle gore in a superhero movie. I don't want to see blood and gore. That's so terrifying. And I'll explain that in just a moment. But yeah, Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds was born for this character.
Yeah.
And the way that oh my God, his movements, the delivery of the jokes, to this day, there are things that I quote. And especially when he's sitting, he's repeatedly punching, what is it? What's the stupid guy's name? He's the dish soap. What's his name?
Ajax.
Ajax, yeah. He's kicking Ajax's ass, and then Colossus comes over and he smashes his hand into Colossus's junk, and he's just like, Dad? Dude, that shit is so funny to me because it's such stupid potty humor, but it's so well done and it worked tremendously. I am so pumped for Deadpool 3. But reason for I was saying that I can't handle like the gory kind of comic book characters and stuff like that. I didn't really like Kick-Ass 1, but I love Kick-Ass 2. I had love for Daredevil. Daredevil got me into Evanescence and all of that. The 2003 Ben Affleck Daredevil. Along with the movie came action figures. And each action figure had a comic book with it. One of the comic books I got was like almost the death of Spider-Man. This was my first comic book I ever saw or read in my life. And I'm seeing Peter, his hair popping out of his mask over like everything. He's covered in blood. I'm like, God, my hero. Like, like that's your first experience with comic books. So you're thinking every fucker is looking at one of these books and they're getting their sadistic mindsets. That's what I thought all comic books were. So I avoided them for the longest time. I never had any interest. So the MCU comes around and I was like, who the hell is Iron Man? And that changed my world. But yeah, Deadpool probably the most effective, Spider-Man being the biggest impact on my life. Yeah. What is yours?
Oh God. It's so hard to choose. I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite, but one of my favorites is The Crow.
I've not seen that, but I love the song that Ice Nine Kills made for that movie.
Yeah, it's
based on that movie.
I love that movie so much. Like that's a movie that came into my life when I needed it. Like it was just, I don't know, it spoke to me.
It looks like a 30 Seconds to Mars music video.
It's got this just grungy, gross. It takes place in Detroit.
Okay.
And it's a pretty accurate depiction. I live in Michigan, so it's pretty accurate.
You would know.
Yeah. But dude, that movie, like, it's just so beautiful and haunting. But there's like great action as well, and there's a great soundtrack. I don't know, and it's more haunting because the actor, I don't know if you're aware, but he was killed while they were filming
on set.
Yeah, they had a prop gun, and the guy was supposed to fire it, and it's actually the scene where he dies in the movie.
Good.
Like for people who don't know, the that's not really a spoiler. He dies and then he comes back to get revenge on.
But at the time of shooting, not actual shooting was supposed to be involved.
Yeah, he actually, it was the scene in the movie where he actually gets killed. They shot him, but that was like one of the last things they had shot. So like they got most of the movie done. And then I believe they had to get some shots with like a stunt double, or I forget how they did it, but they ended up finishing the movie. But yeah, there's all these like interviews with Brandon Lee, like and it sounds like he knew he was gonna die. It was the strangest thing. He's talking about like how you never know like how many more times you'll see the sunrise, and yet it all seems so limitless, and it's just the mystique of that movie, like everything, it's so like haunting. But
so that's a Heath Ledger right there.
Yeah, he was the same age as Heath Ledger.
Oh my god, that's even more terrifying.
Yeah, and
they all look like they came from 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah, they both had the long hair, the face paint. That's crazy. And they died at the same age.
That's coincidence. That's conspiracy theory right there.
I'm not saying anything.
I know, but that's a deep one for people that like that kind of stuff. Look into it. I bet there's some kind of correlation. For the sake of
I think Heath Ledger's last movie that he was filming, he was wearing like some kind of face paint or something in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie had such an impact on it, and it's like it really, even like I think it came out in 96 or something, so I was like 8. But even at that time, I was like, this. It made me view death in a, how do I word this? Not a positive way, but like in a beautiful way. Like it's like they've passed on. It's not like it's almost more selfish to be like, they're not here anymore. It's like,
So the actor's death.
Yeah.
And let me just, for the sake of comedy, Alec Baldwin, get off set when you're making movies. This is not cool, man. You shot 2 people now. Fucking asshole.
Every
reason.
Every single accident that has happened on a set, I blame Alec Baldwin.
It's Alec Baldwin.
Dude, this has nothing to do with anything, but one of my favorite actors is Tom Cruise.
Okay.
Because he just gives 150%, and like I love the Mission Impossible movies, and Tom Cruise does all of his own stunts.
Yes.
And
the master.
In Top Gun Maverick, he actually flew the fucking jets. In the new Mission Impossible, he actually drives a motorcycle off of a cliff
to go into a parachute. He's so crazy.
I thought for sure there was some way they like did that on a green screen. Nope. He actually did that jump in that location. I'm like, oh my god.
The man is quite a talented fella.
Yes.
I won't go into his specific beliefs, but I'm pretty sure that gives him the mindset that he has where he's invincible.
that could very well be. But yeah, I just know like that kind of dedication I appreciate, because it's like there's some actors that like won't even do the most simple of stunts. And here is Tom Cruise at 60 years old jumping off a cliff.
Yes, step it up, Steven Seagal. There's no excuse for you anymore.
Dude, Steven Seagal. Can we just get him to actually jump off a cliff?
He would make quite an impact on the ground.
That's very true.
We got the fat Steven Seagal, the one from Safe Space in South Park.
I don't know if you ever watched Mad TV back in the day, but
Mad Magazine, I knew. I did watch a little bit of Mad TV, but my dad raised me on SCTV, which was on his beta recorder, so it's kind of old.
They did a lot of skits where Will Sasso played Steven Seagal, and it was fucking. You can find them on YouTube and stuff. It's fucking funny.
I would love that.
And Will Sasso also played Tony Soprano. At one point, and it's perfect. It's spot on.
Like realistic? Like he actually played Tony Soprano?
No, like in there was like a parody on Mad TV.
Oh, parody fashion. Okay.
Where, because at the time there was the PAX network. It was like this really watered down, like family friendly network.
Yeah.
And so Mad TV did a parody of like, oh, The Sopranos, it's been edited down for PAX TV. And so every 2 seconds it's just cutting to something else because they're trying to cut from all the curse words and stuff. It's amazing. I'll send you that link.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, before we go, let me just give a shout out because I completely forgot to give him a shout out before we talked about him before we started recording. Jake Hanna is the reason that me and you are able to chat right now. Jake Hanna has his own music and he's constantly working with the independent punk lifestyle. If you guys love that, go check out my interview with him and be sure to give him some love because he brought David to this area right now, to this epic interview with me. And I have been so happy the entire time. It's been like literally exactly what I want from every interview. It feels like I'm just sitting on a couch chatting about everything that's on our mind.
I'm glad you're having a good time. I've been enjoying it too, and I think this is like the most casual I've felt talking to somebody that I haven't spoken to person before. Like usually there's like the awkwardness or like some nerves or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know. This just seems.
I'll throw in an icebreaker. What's your favorite color?
Oh, black.
Black. Oh, that's a great color. I'm wearing that too.
You know what? I love like neon green as well.
Neon green. That's a sick color.
Yeah. To be honest, I just like color. I love yellow. I like orange. I like red. All the Power Rangers.
All the Power Rangers except for orange.
Yeah,
we're still waiting on that.
I don't think there's been an orange Power. I'm like, why? Is it too close to red? Is that why they won't do it?
They tried one in SPD, but it was made as a joke. SPD was 2004, 2005 series or season, and they made it into a character that like, I'm the orange Power Ranger, but he never actually morphed or anything.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I guess like they made it orange. I feel like an orange Power Ranger would be a beast.
Oh, totally. And they probably have somebody that they consider orange these days, but it's probably not orange.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the 30th anniversary, though. I haven't seen the Mighty Morphin thing yet. And my friends and I were planning on seeing that together. So I've been avoiding all spoilers. I've only seen the Morph 1,000 times on Instagram Reels. And I'm like, please leave me alone. Stop spoiling it. I get it. Billy's old, but he looks cool. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either, but I probably will just because I love Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And it's just cool that they finally, because I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think Billy and Zach have been back for like ages.
No, because they brought Adam, who played Black Mighty Morphin Ranger. They brought him back for In Space. They haven't touched Zach for 30 years.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So it's cool just to see in the back. And I mean, Zach somehow doesn't look much different.
No.
Like,
man ages like fine wine.
Yeah. I was gonna say something and I lost it.
No, it's all good. We're all good, man.
Yeah. You know what? Never mind. We'll move on.
Okay. Sounds good. Let me make sure that I didn't have anything else that I wanted to ask that was super pressing. We already did Brave Little Toaster, Courage the Cowardly Dog. Oh, there we go. How could I forget? This is actually the sentimental question I wanted to ask you. Removing all of the darkness that was talked about from the Morgue Files and everything that your channel is based on in the horror genre, what is your favorite fan memory from starting your channel to now?
Once again, man, very good question. Favorite fan memory. I'm gonna it may be a cop-out answer a little bit, but I'm gonna say like it's ongoing. It's like the community, especially since the Morgue Files started, like there's like a group of people that I actually like know their names and stuff. I see them regularly. Like we just interact a lot now, and it's just an amazing feeling that like something I created drew all these different people together. And I mean, there's like people from Italy and like Australia and like England but they all the common thing is that they love the Morgue Files, and I'm blown away by that all the time.
Yeah. And that's your creation.
Yeah, and well, yeah, I'm not gonna. I won't. I was gonna like show on my iPad, but people can see it if they check out the Morgue Files Instagram. I share any and all fan art that people do because I just think that's the coolest thing, that somebody's actually inspired to showcase their talents because of something that I made. So every chance I get when people do any kind of fan art for the Morgue Files, I share it on there immediately. I've got so many, and everybody's so talented, and it's just it's crazy. And I'm like some of them in particular, I'm just like, oh my god, like why are you not famous? You know, like you should be like getting famous for your art or making your own stories or whatever. Like you people are so talented. So yeah, that's my favorite fan memory, is just actually having like some sort of community because of something that I made.
That's amazing. And it's the ultimate goal is like anybody that, like you said, is like a creator. You want to create something that's going to draw people in and, keep them talking, but you've created a family of people. Like, you have these people like you're really close to, and you'll get excited when you see their username or their Instagram tag pop up and in their comments, and you're just like, oh, you're here again, welcome back.
At the risk of being too emo, especially with like last year, as rough as it was, it's like you get to low points and you sometimes are like, I don't want to say I was like suicidal or anything, but you get to those low points and it's just like, why is any of this, but it's little things like that, seeing the same people pop up and they're always so supportive and nice, and it's just it really motivates me to keep doing what I do, because I'm impacting somebody out there, and it's like I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal here, but if I can positively affect somebody like that, then whatever negativity is going on in my world, I don't care. I'm able to help somebody, and that's all that matters to me.
It's the best way to finish this, honestly. Like I love sentimental questions, and I love sentimental responses that just, they warm your heart, because you're like thinking anybody can be in that empty, dark space, and they think that, there's no escape from it. And the little things, like you said, the little things, people just commenting or showing up for your live stream randomly, and you're just like, oh, hey, I remember you, that brightens your day, because you're like, well, this person actually, gives a shit, and I should really appreciate that they appreciate me. And, I put my heart and soul into creating content that is purely mine. And in your case, yours, mine is reactions and stuff, but it's so powerful to have a fan, like true fan, like one of those stands, I guess you could say, that stick by your side no matter what. And, they'll be there when times are rough.
Yeah. I mean, I've lost relationships, I've lost friends, and so, but then there's some people that have been watching me for like 9 years, and it's like, I don't, just seeing their names pop up again, it's like just knowing again that this person cares. It's like, so you have those thoughts in your head like, why am I like, nobody really gives a shit,
Yeah.
But then they do, and I don't know, and I want to be, I'm getting all like sentimental here. I wasn't expecting this, but
you're good, man.
People like Robin Williams, right, or Chester, it's like they had such an impact on me, and then when they were gone, it was like there's literally a part of me missing. Like I still to this day I struggle, because it's like I'm never gonna hear Chester again. I'm never gonna see Robin Williams again. And it's like it's hard to try to move, and knowing that there are some people for whatever reason that kind of see me like that, I'm like, I owe it to you guys to keep doing what I'm doing, and to not give in to whatever negativity pops up.
They're your
Long
motivation.
answer, but
Motivation
yeah,
to keep going.
I mean, even the fact that I just love doing what I do, like even that is not enough sometimes. I'm sure I'm sure everybody can relate when you're really in that dark mindset. Um, the things that you love doing, it doesn't feel like something that you love anymore. But those kinds of moments, that's what fuels me. So
Excellent. Well, thank you, David, for joining me for this incredible interview. And don't worry about the length. Like I said, I'll cut it down. But you were so honest and so open with me, man. And I would love to chat with you again after Morgue Files, I don't know, 5 comes out. And I will make sure to be there in the comment section of every video that I watch from you moving forward, just letting you know that I love it or what I personally connected with, just so you can understand that even though I'm brand new, even though my friend was the reason that I'm here, I support you 1,000,000%.
thank you so much, man. That seriously means the world to me. And yeah, going forward, whenever another Morgue Files is coming out, if you want to chat again, I'm totally down. Like, this has been amazing. And I'm gonna tell whoever my followers, like, I'm gonna tell them about this interview so they can come check it out. Hopefully they'll subscribe, support you in the future, because you deserve it, man. Like,
thank you so much, man.
Your enthusiasm is infectious. You're like upbeat. Like, you don't seem there's not like a mean-spirited side.
Oh no,
which is
genuine 100%.
Yeah, that's something I definitely appreciate, because there's too much negativity out there, and you seem to just keep it positive and talk about things to keep people happy.
Yeah,
and that's something I respect.
I appreciate all of your support as well, man. And yeah, anybody that does choose to subscribe, check out anything that I've made, and just leave a comment. That's literally all I ask, because if you don't comment, I don't know what the hell you want. That's how it goes.
It's true. Like, I remember before I ended up putting out videos where I was like, what do you want from me?
What do you want from me? That's how it feels, though, because you're like, I put out videos that absolutely suck, and they'll get hundreds of views, and nobody will say shit. And I'm like, hundreds of people are watching this. What are you there for? What do you like? Do you want me to continue this? Do another video? 5 views. It's like, okay, I guess you didn't want that artist. I don't know what you want. I can't read your mind. If you guys leave a comment, tell me I suck. I love that. Tell me I suck. Keeps me going. Because I can always improve. And I've been my own critic for my whole entire life. I'm very self-aware when it comes to my content. And I have literally edited every video by myself. So I promise you, I've seen all the flaws as well. I'm not going to deny it and be like, no, that was perfect. I loved sitting for 12 hours and putting that kind of together. Okay.
Dude, I can relate with voice acting or music. It's like I go through so many damn takes until I find something that I actually like. Like, if I'm recording for one character, the audio could end up being like 2 or 3 hours long, because I'm just doing the lines over and over or trying them different ways. And I'm like, that sucked. Try to do better. So I get it.
Do you ever have that issue with activating your scream for your music?
Yeah.
Like, you start out and you're like, okay, I got this, easy peasy, and then you re-record it and you're like,
yes, it happens
sucks
all the time. And I mean, I'm sure you've noticed from listening to my music, I don't necessarily do like a normal technique. So sometimes if I am not careful, I can fuck up my voice, and it's like, then how do I get more takes? Because I can't produce a sound. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's not going to sound the same,
Yeah, Also, I want to compliment your low scream. I finally figured it out after listening for such a long time. I told you sounded like Corey Taylor originally. That's your mid scream. Your mid scream is Corey Taylor. Your low scream is Volbeat. If you ever heard the song Evelyn, check that
I love
out.
that song. I love
Yes, you get it then. You get it. Yeah, it's got that. I love it. So fun. So fun. But I'm gonna finish this, then we'll continue talking. Thank you guys again for watching this incredible episode with the amazing David Neer. If you want to check out all of his stuff, please go to the description down below. All of his information is down there, made for you guys to fall in love with, especially if you like horror. If you have a weak mind, soul, spirit, or stomach, probably avoid the Morgue Files, but if you can handle it, I promise you it's totally worth it. Super creative, incredible content. Thank you, David, for being with me. This was an awesome interview.
Thank you so much for having me. I don't know how I can follow that up. That was epic. Thank you everyone for watching. And go support Dan. Go do it. He's amazing.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, have an awesome day and stay safe out there. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to the Media Man Dan podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks for listening. Have an awesome day and stay safe out there. Peace.